He throws the remote and he hits me right here. Hey Travel Tribe, it's Brandy Nicole. Thank you so much if you have already subscribed, and if you find this channel beneficial to you and you want to be a travel triber, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Y'all, so there are 3 reasons that I am choosing to be rebaptized and the stories behind them. Remember, I told you my old self has to die in order for my new self to be reborn. So I'm telling all these stories now before my rebirth because the past will be dead. One was trauma. I know that one of my major traumas was my daddy-daughter relationship trauma. Okay, and just to reiterate, my parents divorced when I was in the 6th grade. I was daddy's girl. Every Thursday night we went on our daddy-daughter date, and he did remarry, and after he remarried, the dynamics changed. And once the dynamics changed, there was no more daddy-daughter dates, which ultimately left me in more of an emotional rut of not feeling good enough. You know, if he can leave me, then anybody in this world can leave me. So I know the trauma came where it came from. But in return from that trauma, I started making decisions in the wrong guise, right? Because it wasn't about stability. It wasn't about what you could do. It wasn't about how you can lead the household. I was looking and searching for the love that I lost and being that princess that was just removed. And so over the years, I took that and I was like, I just want to be loved. I just really want that. Because I was afraid to love, I never pulled walls down because I always felt like if I start really, truly, unconditionally loving somebody, they're going to leave me just like he did. They're going to leave me. And so it's always been a scary feel, and to add to the dynamic of the trauma, my mom was a stay-at-home mom till my parents divorced. And then she went to work after never working. And so it also built another trauma. I watched my mom and I love her to death, and I know how much she sacrificed for me. I'm gonna be in tears just thinking about her sacrifice. But and it's not until you get older that you realize how much people do for you that truly love you. But anyways, I just remember saying to myself, I'm never gonna let a guy do what happened to my mom. And so that's what grew my strong independence, that I don't need a man. I never really said it, but like in the back of my head, right? For example, I've been married before, and one thing that I did was I always said to myself, and the crazy part is I was preparing for the end. And this is how deep the trauma goes. So that's why I tell you, like, you've got to fix trauma. You've got to find ways to fix trauma. So when I got married, right, I was already preparing for the end. So our relationship was doomed anyways, because I was thinking to myself, you know what, if anything happens, I'm gonna make sure that this rent or this mortgage can be paid by my salary. Like, I'm gonna make sure that I can handle things on my own. Worst case scenario, something happens. I was already prepared. See how that childhood trauma prepared me to prepare my relationships for the end? That's why I say you have to take time and really, really dig deep on those traumas, whatever they are, because they pull through life with you. So now I did do like therapy and things like that because like I really wanted to get through that trauma, because it was just a pain of not feeling good enough, that even if you love somebody unconditionally, they'll leave you. And so now I'm battling 2 things. I'm battling this, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. I just want somebody to love me. You know, and then I'm dealing with this, you know what? I'm going to make sure I'm good because I will never let a dude, get somebody else to do it, because it won't be me. He won't leave me high and dry. I can bet you that. A couple ways that I worked on healing from that was I did do therapy sessions, but I didn't feel like the person that I was going to was relatable. So I still felt empty because like she would write things on her pad, and then I would come back the next week and she wouldn't remember me. So it just was very unfulfilling. So then I took matters into my own hands. Still hadn't talked to God about this now. See, that's where I went wrong. I didn't talk to God. What I did was I still took control and I took matters into my own hands. And when I did that, what I did was I wrote my dad a letter, a long letter. I wasn't expecting anything any more or any less. I just needed to release the energy. So I actually wrote the letter. I think I sent this long text message to him several years ago. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my daddy to death. A lot of times we think that our past traumas start from like a relationship or, you know, with a significant other or a friend or something, and we just build on top of that. But the reality is it starts a little bit younger and it builds itself up. Disclosure, he was there more financially than he was there for me personally, but he was still around. So one thing that I remember, one event, for example, was my college graduation. He came to my college graduation, and after graduation, we were supposed to be going to dinner to celebrate and things like that. But then he didn't come because there was another dinner that he had to go to. And I remember that just crushing me because it felt like he was there for the event, for the sake of being at that particular event, but not there for me personally, because the intimacy came when the family got together to congratulate me for dinner. So those are the things that I speak on. There in the presence of the crowd, but not there personally. And it was like I was there to show my face, but I wasn't there for you emotionally. It just felt like I was ostracized. I have an older brother, so even with that, both of us felt pretty ostracized. We didn't feel like we were a part of that family. There was a time I remember I went to church with my dad, and his church family didn't even know I existed. When he introduced me, he's like, "This is my daughter." "Oh, you have another daughter? This is your daughter?" And I'm like, "I'm actually the daughter." You know, so little things like that are just little small traumas that over time just kind of kept eating and eating and eating. So I do want to make that clear, but it's the emotional aspect that children / girls need from their dad so that they can prepare themselves for their adulthood. That was the portion that I missed. It just hurt. You know, you feel like to go somewhere and know that people don't even know you exist and you been there forever. Like, that's the dynamics of it. Number 2 reason for my rebaptism is abuse and control in a relationship that caused me to go from being an outgoing person to an introverted person. So, like I said, I had my first child when I was 18, and that's when the relationship between myself and my kid's father kind of changed. The control started, everything started after the birth of my child at 18. It took a long time to get out of it. And if you have never been through any type of like mental abuse or physical abuse or control, you really don't know and you don't understand. And this is my first time like literally on camera after years and years of ever even speaking on it. Most people don't even, I'm such a private person that most people don't even know that I encountered any of this. So this is just me saying to you that I've been through things and I am here to help somebody if I can. All I'm saying is, if you can, please don't be quiet, right? When it comes to that, get help if you can. I was extremely quiet. So like I said, I did go to college while I was in this relationship, and it was hard. It was a struggle because I really couldn't maneuver and function as far as like, you know, going to study groups and things like that, because it was always something. I remember there being a time where we were at one of my oldest son's little league games, and like I said, I always walk with my head down. Y'all, I had gotten so skinny, like people thought I was sick. I was literally skin and bones, and I had never been that skinny. It was the stress of knowing that, one, you're not doing anything, but you're stuck in this box. You can't hang with anybody. You can't do anything without the risk of something happening to you. So I remember being at one of my son's Little League games, and I happened to look up, and some random guy spoke. You know how people do when you're walking past people and you're like, hey, how you doing? Have a good day. Literally that type of thing. And this was the moment, this was the final straw. This was the moment that I actually found the courage to walk away. So we got back to the house. The guy literally spoke. All he did was speak. Hey, how you doing? And I was like, hey, I'm good. How are you? Put my head back down, literally. The whole entire ride home, it was, do you know him? How do you know him? Oh, you were dealing with him? Oh, don't worry about it. I got something for you. I got something for you. And I'm like, I don't even know this person. I don't know this person. And so as we got home, I remember for whatever reason, and I know it was God. I know it was God. But for whatever reason, none of my kids were there on this particular day. None of my kids were there. And we got home. I remember him sitting at the table and I was sitting at the table, and the door was open and the screen door was unlocked. And he threw the remote at me and it hit me right here. And I just started crying. I'm sitting here like, I've been so fearful at this point. We are 5-6 years in. And at this point, like, I can't even believe that you would even think that anything would be going on, because I'm too scared. I'm too scared to move. I'm too scared to leave out of your presence because I'm scared that something's gonna happen to me. So anyway, so he's yelling at me, he throws the remote and he hits me right here. At that moment, I don't know what took over me, but I didn't care. I didn't care. I ran out the screen. I pushed the screen door open. I ran out and I hid in a ditch. And at this point, I had a van. Why was I like in my early 20s and having a van? Listen, that's all besides the point. But anyways, I literally left everything. And I saw him grab the keys because I only got across the street. I didn't have on any shoes or anything. And I hid in the ditch and he grabbed the keys, and I saw the van leave the house. And I knew he was looking for me. And so I'm going and I'm knocking on doors, and it was daylight. It wasn't night. It wasn't dark outside, but nobody was coming to the door. And because we live in a day and time, and this was years ago, but we live in a day and time where people are too scared to open their doors. I literally knocked on 4 doors before the 5th door finally opened for me. And I'm running and I'm also watching for my van. And it was the scariest moment ever. I finally got somebody to open the door, and I said, please just let me call my mom or my brother. Like, I'm in an abusive situation and I'm just really just trying to get out. I just need them to come and get me. And it was a man and his wife, and they were like, does he have a gun? You know, because they're fearful for their life too. Like, you know, I'm trying to help you, but like, if it's gonna cause me danger, I'm not about to help. So he finally let me call my mom. So my mom and my brother came and picked me up. I don't even remember where my kids were. Like, but they weren't at the house. I mean, thank God they weren't at the house. I just couldn't do anything. I remember talking to one of my friends at work, and this is the best advice that I can give anybody who's going through anything, not just, relationship issues, but if you are going through anything. The one thing, her friend was Tanisha. Hey, Tanisha. One thing she said to me was, you aren't tired enough. Because I used to go to work and I used to cry, like, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this. Like, I don't know, like, I'm just scared, I'm just tired. And she was like, friend, when you get tired enough, you'll find a way. That's it. When you get tired enough, you'll find a way. But you also have to understand, when people are going through certain situations and abuse like that, it's hard to feel, because you feel like you're going to lose your life trying to get out. Now, mind you, at this time, I have 3 kids. So I had all kind of plots. I am going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm gonna pack up and I'm gonna leave. And I'm like, well, how am I gonna do that with 3 kids, 3 small kids at this time? How am I gonna do that? And when I tell you the police had no urgency about them, it literally took them an hour and a half to get to the house. And all I could think about was, I could have been dead. If this man knew where I was in any shape, form, or fashion, you guys would have dropped the ball. Like, I would have been gone. Like, and so in that moment is when it hit me that my friend said, when you get tired enough, you will leave. And I was tired enough. I didn't care if I was losing my life. I didn't care about anything at that point. I was just tired of the control. I was tired. And let me just go ahead and make this disclaimer, because I know the comments will comment when it comes to having 3 kids. I know the question is, well, you just kept staying and you just kept having more kids and you got 3 kids by this person. Listen, everything is not always what it seems. Yes, I have 3 kids. I wholeheartedly only had something to do with one. I was only truly involved in one. It was one of the situations where it's like, sit down and shut up, or you're gonna have a bad day. So therefore, after my 3rd child, I was like, I'm already taking care of everything. Like, I'm the person going to work, I'm taking care of the bills, I'm doing all of this, and on top of this, I'm in this abusive situation. And I'm gonna keep reiterating to you that when you're in a situation where you feel like a person has nothing to lose, you always are fearing for your life. It has nothing to do with, oh, you can just get up and go. And until you've been in that situation and under those circumstances, like, you can't even begin to comprehend it. There were times where I took me and my kids to the women's shelter because I just had to get away. But at the same time, it's like, where do you go? So yes, I do have 3 kids. One I had something to do with. The other 2, I love my babies to death, but not trade them for the world. So don't get that misconstrued either. I was literally just laying there. So before the comments comment, there you go. So, you know, don't be quick when you see people or you say, hey, why didn't this person just do this? Don't be quick to judge people, because you never, really, truly never know what people are going through. And if you just happen to see anybody randomly on the street or somebody just crying, just ask them how they are. You never know whose life you are saving. You don't know whose life you're saving. So, and I'm not going into major detail about it, but that was the last straw. I feel like I lost my late teens. I feel like I lost my 20s. Like, it was tough. I mean, and here I am hoping to help somebody. Well, there's a will, there's a way. And if you pray to God, and this is what I wasn't doing. I was so distraught. I didn't even know if I could trust that God was going to get me out of this. So I wasn't praying that God would see me through. But if you are in this current situation now, what I am going to say is pray your way through. Where there's a will, there is a way. Trust me, when you get tired enough, when you get bruised enough, when you get controlled enough, when you realize how much of your life you actually truly lost, trust me, you'll make something happen. It was some of the most damaging time of my life, late teens and early 20s, where I was literally the breadwinner of the household, the only person taking care of the household and the 3 kids, and still being abused and controlled. It was tough. If you know somebody that's going through what they are going through, don't run. If they come to you and they trust you with it, don't run off and tell the whole world. Don't run off and try to make things happen your way, because only that person knows when and where and how they can maneuver to get out. So that's that story. So get closer to God, because if I had been praying to God, God probably would have released me a lot sooner. Part 3 of why I am choosing rebaptism, because it's the most important reason, and that's why you have to save the best for last. Number 3 is to build my relationship with God and walk through my journey with God in me, on me, and by my side. This is the breath of fresh air. Like, this is the breath of fresh air, because when you're down, when you're isolated, when you feel like you can't find your way, when you feel like life is just over, that's when God wants to take you by the hand. When you're feeling lost, or if you've lost a job, if you don't know how you're gonna eat, if you are broken, God will choose you. If you were fully equipped, God wouldn't have a way to use you. So in my getting closer to God, I know that He has a bigger purpose for me. I've walked most of my life either hidden behind the shadows, either making sure everybody else was okay, happy, whether my happiness existed or not, walking the straight and narrow because of the way that I grew up, like feeling like I have to be this certain person or do this certain thing. Like, that's that. And now it's personal. My journey with God, personal. And in order for me to continue to move forward, I have got to leave it with Him. I've got to surrender it. And that old me has to die. The old you has to die. Let it go. Let it go. Work on yourself because we are still human. Rebaptism isn't going to change life drastically and change life automatically. But it is the reason for starting over. It's God saying, I'm giving you another chance. And I just want to be washed while I'm having this personal relationship with God. And you can too. I hope that this message inspires somebody, encourages somebody, anything. If you're going through, if you have had a near-death experience, give it to God. I can relate to that too. I went into the hospital back in, this was 2014, I believe. And I got out for the weekend, and my arm was hurting. And my aunt and my mom were like, you've got to go back to the emergency room. And I was like, no, they might keep me. I don't want to do that. And anyway, so I was like, well, if I'm not feeling good tomorrow, I'll still go. The urgent care was closed. It was a Sunday. The urgent care was closed. And so my aunt said, I'm going to come and get you first thing in the morning. I was like, no, I'll probably be all right. So she calls me and she was like, I'm on my way. And I was like, I told you I'm okay. But had my aunt not come, I was an hour and a half from not being here. I got to the emergency room. The doctors started running their CAT scans and things like that. And I had a blood clot in my lungs. And the doctor said, you better thank God for your aunt, because had she not made you come, you were an hour and a half from your deathbed. And that would have been the worst news that your mother could have heard, because you were being resilient and you didn't want to come back because you didn't want to stay in the hospital. And in that moment, I was like, God came and saved me again. And here I am, still being part-time. And that was back in 14. I did change some things about my life, stop kind of living so much for other people and making sure everybody else was good. You know, I did start changing. That's when I started feeling like you only have one life. And if you don't live that one life, what were you here for? If you don't find your purpose, what are you here for? So trust me, your girl been through some things. I don't look like what I've been through. I don't look like it. Thank God I don't look like what I've been through. But trust me when I say life hasn't been easy. My kids have had to grow up with me. You know, they've had to go through the struggles with me. They don't believe that we've ever been through a struggle, but trust me, we've been through the struggles that they don't know about. So listen, everybody goes through things. So don't let the surface of somebody, don't let how somebody carries themselves, because I do. I carry myself, because I'm so private, I carry myself on the straight and narrow. You will never know. Like, there's been times I've had small breakdowns here and there, and people are like, I don't even know what to say. You're so strong. What am I going to do? You're just so strong. Like, I don't even know what to say. Or I wouldn't even thought you were going through anything, because you always just smiling and you know, have advice for everybody, and you just always keep your composure. Even the strong get weak. So trust me, people don't look like what they've been through. People don't look like what they're going through. So just remember, give it to God. We're going to get through this rebaptism. These are some things I wanted to touch on prior to rebaptism, because after that, it'll be no more. I'm going to tell you to redirect to my self that died on the channel. Redirect. You can go back and look at it, but as for me and this new me, I don't know who she is and what happened. So toodles, y'all have a good day.